Yes,
Nice to see.
I'm the plural version of all the Daniels.
Oh, nice to have you here. And
Thank you, man.
yeah, we normally do paid ads to get people in, but I discovered that people will come back later to watch this. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, they come back. Always get feedback. People come back. So what we are doing, who comes to join us together, but people will always go later to join to watch the event. So are you enjoying the lockdown?
Well, it's been amazing, amazing, amazing. Funny enough, it turned out to be a very fruitful experience.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Let's go straight to what we have today.
All right.
Real businesses love crisis.
All
Can you
right.
hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. My camera is not going to be stationary today, and I'm doing so because of the network. So,
Okay. Okay, we'll manage. We'll manage.
okay, thank you.
We'll manage. Okay. Okay. The real businesses love crisis. They love crisis. So
Yeah.
can we look at it? Can we look at that that
Yes, please.
statement when we say real businesses love crisis? What is in your mind about this very discourse? Real businesses love crisis.
Interestingly, you were saying something initially about having to reframe it. But I kind of looked at it from the very beginning, and it was exciting because that's what business is about. So
Yeah.
I'm glad not reframe it. The topic is just on point, relevant for a time as this. And just like you said at the prelude before we started the interview, that how can you say you're in business if you're not, actually solving problems? Because some people think they're in business and they're not. Um, so if you're not in business, then you're not real. First of
Yeah.
all, so
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that analogy. And then with regards to the crisis part of things, it's a show of strength, and when a business can actually deal with this crisis, whether it's internal or external.
Yeah.
So in the world today, we see the preferred big brother of the world is the United States of America, but hasn't dealt with the crisis of the coronavirus effectively, like China has. So in solving the problems of the coronavirus in its country and trying to extend a helping hand to many other countries, China has tried to position itself as the actual big brother. So
Yeah.
that's a real one right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I was looking at the definition of business.
Yeah.
So my mind went to this Robert Kiyosaki quadrant.
Okay,
There was
cash flow.
this cash flow quadrant,
Yes.
and had the left hand side and the right hand side.
Yeah.
E for employee.
Yeah.
That means someone has to pay you for your time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you go to work, that means you're an employee. And the underneath it, you have the S. If you have to perform services, then they pay you money. So you are on the left hand side of that quadrant. Then on the right hand side, you have business and investor.
Yeah.
A business is when people work for you, or where people exchange their time. Okay, they exchange their time to make money. Then why they invest, the I for invest, so is your money working for you.
Yeah.
Business, people working for you. They are paying people. They are buying people's time to work for you. And the I is your money work for you. And he said at some point in time we are in the E, S, but you need to move to the right hand side. Either you own a business, or you are an investor. An investor is when your money work for you. For instance, you put your money on say fixed deposits. Yeah, your money, and per month or so or per year, interest come to you. Your money is working for you. Then, if you see a viable business and you invest in it, and at the end of the month or at the end of a year or a certain period, they give you when they share their profits, you make something. That's investment. Your money is working for you. Or you buy shares from companies or for banks and the rest. Your money is working for you. Now, the real definition of business is not you that have one shop where if you fall sick any day, your shop is closed. Yeah, that's no business. That's no business. It's just it's a job. So business, but where you are there or you are not there, the business is running normally. We see that as business. Also in quotes, because when we use the word real businesses, we chatted not quite long, and I was telling you about Samsung. 1938, they started as a grocery company. When I saw that publication some few years ago, I was like, Samsung, electronics giant, started as grocery. They went on to the textile industry. And 30 years later, 1968, that was when they started electronics. And today they're into phones and the rest. So these are people who are in business. Okay? Because some people are in business, they lack the definition of why they are in business. Most times, people go into business, which is not bad. It's not bad to make money. Can you hear me? To make money, it's not bad. It's not bad. But having a vision, a right vision, according to what's his name, Adiolu, having a right vision. When you have a right vision, you set the right sail, all winds begin to work in your favor. So having the right vision necessarily does not mean okay, my vision is to produce water. My vision is to produce biscuits. But if you say my vision is to make people happy, my vision is to make people happy. If I set up a business to make people happy, that means I can do anything. So anything that makes people happy is my business. You understand? So if today I am a fashion designer, people are happy, and something happened that I need to move, so I think of something to do that will make somebody happy. So it's about the vision, not about the work that I'm doing. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, very clear. Very clear.
Let's move on. There's a word that says, crisis creates opportunities. Crisis creates opportunity. I want you to throw more light on that. When we say crisis.
Okay, I think we'll have to start first by talking about what a crisis.
Fine, yeah. I think I need to ask you that. Oh, our network, okay. Yeah. Are you there? What? Wow. Okay. I think let me call him back. It's like this.
I'm fine.
Okay. Are you there? Okay. Are you there? Okay. Crisis. Yes. I wanted to ask you that. Just keep that. That should be the first thing I should ask. Okay. Definition of crisis.
Okay. So, very, very simply, a crisis. Basically, I of course I wrote something down, but when I looked at it, particularly, into my own thought, I realized a crisis is something that you either expect or you don't, that will ultimately come to disrupt your flow, your operations, your business. Okay, so it's anything that's an event that has the capacity, whether you're expecting it or not, all right, to lead to an unstable, that's the word I'm trying to use, okay? A dangerous situation affecting every individual group or, the community at large. And this is important to stress. And the fact that you have very, very numerous kinds of crises. Some of them can be natural. Like in many parts of the world, you have natural disasters. And natural disasters come sometimes unexpected. The developed countries have already begun to know when those crises are coming. For instance, if there's going to be an earthquake in Japan, Japan may know weeks before. Before, it used to take them unaware, but now they are aware. They have the technology to determine when it will come and how large that disaster will be. So it's places like the United States where you have all kinds of hurricanes, and they can tell before the hurricane comes. So basically, those are natural crises. You have technology crisis. You have a crisis that comes from confrontation. You know, when people confront you or situations confront you, a crisis could arise. You have a crisis that occurs due to workplace violence. Okay. Another one due to rumors. So crisis can come to an individual or a company when people begin to spread rumors about a person. And of course, there's bankruptcy. That's a kind of crisis. And of course, an organization can have its own internal misdeeds, like the case of Toyota in 2010, when Toyota had a very, very serious crisis, probably one of the worst in its history. When they had to recall millions of their vehicles back. And yes, so that was caused by internal misdeeds, such that Toyota lost its way. They lost their ability to stay focused on their ingenuity and the ability to be customer centric, because they wanted to grow. In fact, not that they wanted to, they began to grow faster than ever before in their history. And one of such growth happened when they became quoted on the New York stock market, just before 2010. That demanded growth, unusual growth for them. And that placed a heavy pressure on the engineers at Toyota. Toyota felt that pressure massively. So once Toyota hit that level of internal lack of focus, the outcome was a situation where the engineers put out a vehicle, a brand for that year, where the cars were just speeding up on their own. Sticky pedals, they call them. So that's a huge one. It can happen internally. Now, for the place where we are with regards to natural crisis as this one, it's a kind of crisis. And so your question for us is, what are the opportunities in a crisis, right?
Yeah. Crisis. We know that crisis creates opportunities. Like the case of Toyota, did they bounce back?
Oh, of course. That's why we see them. If they didn't bounce back, we won't be driving their vehicles right now.
Yeah, if you take this one, is an eternal crisis. And the enemy within is greater. The enemy within, whether it's an internal crisis, it can spell doom for an organization. Yes, it can easily take an organization down when it's an internal crisis. So imagine Toyota could bounce back. And if I tell you, some people may not even know that they had this crisis. I knew. Well, I heard. Yeah, go ahead.
Interestingly, Toyota was forthright. They were not quick enough. They kept living in denial for some time, which was also part of why that crisis prolonged. They didn't recall the vehicles on time, and they just wouldn't agree that it was their problem. But eventually, Toyota turned it around. They came public. They went and apologized, and then of course began to call back millions of vehicles, and that had happened after a lot of people had died. But you can see how that happened. Toyota cleaned up its mess by apologizing, by going public, by owning its mistake and dealing with what they needed to do with. Then of course they came back, having investigated and found out what the problem was. They decided to stay focused. They came back to their original assignment and stayed with it. All right, so they were able to deal with that. Johnson and Johnson, in the early 90s, had a very similar crisis. In fact, at the end of this discussion, I want to recommend a material I'll just probably put up to show to some people. But Johnson and Johnson had a crisis. This is a company that has lived over 150 years old, and early in this 20th century, they had this crisis. People died because there was a chemical in one of their products that killed a few people. And the MD at that time, came out very fast to apologize to Americans. And of course, they began to reclaim the products that had gone out. They also stopped production. In fact, they shut down their plants, to tell you how serious they were for that product. And then, of course, they went public. They also sent out scientists to every part of the country as much as they could. And once they took ownership of the problem and apologized, and this was faster in its approach than Toyota did in 2010. But what happened next is that they went back and found a way. They got a triple seal, something like that, that was able to help the product from getting contaminated over on the shelves. And so they went back, used public PR to ensure that everybody understood what they had done, and also give out a lot of freebies to people just to win. So if you bought, just say like for instance, you bought one Johnson & Johnson product, you could get one for free. They did that consistently for a period of time till they got back their integrity in the minds of people. And so the crisis, in a way, made Johnson & Johnson better, because they went back to ask themselves, why did this happen? And as soon as they answered that question, they found out what was happening. They improved on a certain technology on their product. It cost them more, but then because they were a family brand, what they did with that product also spread to other products. The quality of sealing, the technology of sealing, which they didn't have up until that time, happened after that crisis, and they became a better company for it. All right, so there are a lot of opportunities in a crisis, and I believe very strongly that
before you move there, you know, you mentioned how Toyota, Johnson & Johnson had been able to handle the crisis they found themselves. Wow. Okay, you mentioned it, and for people out there that are going through crisis in their businesses, you can also take the same cue from Toyota. Although Toyota didn't realize on time, what they did, they had to apologize, and they went into action. So even when you didn't realize on time, the tower, instead of killing that business, instead of giving up, what you need to do is to own up and go back to your drawing board, go back to your table, go back come together with your strategy team, and begin to look at the way forward. I'm going to bring back, let me bring him back. Okay, it's disconnected. So you need to go back to your drawing board and look at the way forward. Don't give up, because if Toyota had given up then, or Johnson & Johnson had given up, I'm not sure we'll be having the cars we're having today. I'm not sure we'll still be having the product of Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson, like you said, they quickly realized, and they started giving, if you buy one of their products, they start giving you maybe a free, and they have other things they do. So the most important thing is for you to have strategic thinking. You come back to your strategic table and work out something. Don't give up. This would have taken us to business as a game. Business as a game. Simon Sinek is a great coach, business coach, great speaker, and he gives out his trainings. When he trains, so simple with great good presentation. And he said business is an infinite game. Business is an infinite game. And I was looking at, okay, infinite and finite game. There are some people, they go into a business and they just want to see what they can grab, and they come out of it. Now, he made a statement. He said the minute you have senior executives, obsessing about the short game, the game is lost. So the infinite business mindset is somebody that goes into business as a game to keep on playing the game. Yeah, that's infinite. Infinite is somebody that goes there, you win, get what you want to get, and you come out. Now look at the crisis of today, the global pandemic. I'm sure some companies will just fold up and say, oh, we're out of business, we are sacking staff, we are out of this whole thing. But an infinite mindset businessman will go back, call his strategic team, call his people around, and they'll start looking for the way forward. That's the infinite mindset. You are not doing the business to win, but to remain in the game. We talked about Samsung. Samsung that started as just a grocery company, but today they end up, they are big-time electronic people. That's the people with infinite mindset. You are there to continue to play the game. You are there to continue to play the game. Things are not going on well. You sit down and you re-strategize. You don't just give up. We've had a lot of companies who started and little crisis, we mentioned internal crisis, or external ones comes and you don't hear of them again. The example of such company, Kodak. Kodak is a film, camera film company then. We are making millions of dollars, but they never thought that cards, what's it called, memory card will come. They never thought of that. But immediately memory card came, Kodak left business. They left business. They couldn't go back to even sit, okay, what do we do? They left business. We've had a lot of them. General Motors, GM, they faced such crisis, but they bounced back. Okay, rumor is around. I'll continue with, see, okay. They faced such crisis. General Motors, but they bounced back, they came back, they still do their cars. Yeah. Mr. Rume Daniels, you went off.
I don't know. I have no idea what's happening in this part of the country.
Yes, we're in this country together. So we are talking about, okay, the crisis, the opportunities that this crisis, whatever crisis, could be the current one that we are faced with. It could be an internal crisis, it could be a natural disaster or whatsoever, it could be government policies and the rest. So what do we say could be opportunities around a crisis in general? Therefore, we'll talk about this one that we'll find ourselves.
Okay, crisis generally leads to the death of many things and then the birth of new ones. Old ways of doing businesses may die, will have to die, and then of course there'll be new ways of doing businesses. And I just heard you talking about Kodak now, and they were not quick to responding to the trend of digital photography. They didn't see that coming as so. When you stick to the old, it can literally kill the business.
Yeah.
And so currently, for instance, let me just take, I know that we're talking business, but let me just talk about some sort of religious organizations who have refused to adapt to the current situation. You know, some have seen a conspiracy out of this against religious organizations and have chosen not to evolve with the times and seasons. Not understanding that the future of, for instance, a church, for instance, is a studio. And that means that if you approach it from a digital perspective, you have really literally made the entire world your parish. If you take that perspective, my understanding from that, dealing with religious organizations, you bring that into the business world. The current opportunity and trend as we have currently, and even before COVID-19, officially January this year, we have entered into the fourth industrial revolution. So without our asking for it, for those who were not mindful of the trends, they were going to be caught up in the old ways if you don't evolve and embrace the new ways.
Yeah.
So look at the top 10 richest entrepreneurs in the world. That young people who are not even up to 40 have entered the top 10. And why? Because we were living in the IT age, all right, in the information technology age, but now we've entered into what we call the wisdom age. It's no longer just IT, it's now the application of IT. So with that being said, the way businesses are done generally changes, ultimately changes. And it is sad to say this, that a lot of businesses in this part of the world have refused to read the signs. We're just consumed with the COVID-19 situation now. But if we go by what the fourth industrial revolution actually brought upon us, when we speak of robotic, a lot of us have been hearing about robotics and artificial intelligence, virtual realities, automations, and what have you. And we really haven't taken into cognizance how that is going to really shape our world in the 2020s going forward. The next decade is going to be massive. And anybody who refuses to see the opportunities in digital, and, for instance, 5G, a lot of organizations, it's not a launch. 5G is not a launch because it's very expensive to break out. It's not like 4G. So they call it a rollout. Apparently, some countries in the world have already started using 5G before January 2020. So all those noise we saw during the COVID-19, a lot of people actually felt it was the COVID. No. 5G had already been talked about as at 5 years ago. And already as we speak, people are working on 6G. 6G. That's crazy. Yes, there are some countries are working on it. And of course, what that really implies is that business as we know it has changed, and we need to. I know your kind of business, particularly with permit me to call Packham, has evolved into the digital space where you embrace how value chain is put around purchasing of goods and services, and that's exactly what we're talking about. Even if you're a company that provides barbing salon services to people, for instance, technology has come to change that. And there is a new way of thinking. So if we do not see how that happens, what happened to Kodak, for instance, will happen to businesses, no matter how old they have been around. And so please permit me to just share this. There is the popular SWOT analysis everybody knows about. And this is a good time to do it. This is a good time to reevaluate where we are now. Our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And we're talking about the opportunities. That's where the O comes in. So the opportunities in a crisis. Interesting, how do you harness opportunities if you don't yet know what your strengths are? So until you know what your strengths are, you can't really see the opportunities connecting to the strengths that you have. Okay. And yes, so one needs to be very truthful. Where are we? What's our weakness? What is our strength? What are we good at? Okay, and so on and so forth. And this is a good time. Interestingly, strengths and weaknesses are internal to every company. They are not external. But the opportunities and the threats are external. They are outside our companies. So, and they're outside our control. So we need to be very true to ourselves and find, proper ways to fully profile where we are and see what we can offer at a time like this. And truly, that's where we begin to ask ourselves questions. If technology, for instance, can enhance our strengths, but we genuinely have to know what we have to offer at a time like this. Just like you mentioned, that if you're in the business of making people happy, then even if you used to produce XYZ product before, you can ultimately go to W product next time, as long as it's about making people happy. You are speaking about vision earlier, right? So somebody's vision might not be about making people happy. Maybe your vision, somebody else's might be to pretty much satisfy the needs of his customers. What it means to satisfy the needs of a customer does not mean because you currently produce biscuits, that's the only thing that satisfies the needs of a customer. So if the big picture of satisfying the needs of customer is before you, you can ultimately, for instance, move from a biscuit production company into an egg supplying company, for instance. And so that's what brings innovation and flexibility. And that's how we take opportunities. So, and I just love that story, the analogy you shared from the beginning of how Samsung started as a grocery company, went into textile, and then evolved into technology, and it's continued evolving. The same thing with companies like Nokia.
Oh, Okay. I'm sure we are all getting what Rume Daniels. Rume Daniel is my okay. Go ahead. Network was yeah. It went off before. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I was.
Wow, the same network issue. Okay. This Rume Daniels is a life coach. He's a trainer and he's a consultant to several companies and organizations. And he's a friend. He has been doing this for many years. If he comes back, I'll just allow him to give us his last thought. I also have some opportunities that um, this crisis, what lies in this whole um, Corona game. So I'm going to okay. Women should be back. Let me get him back. Sorry. Um, Sorry, okay, he's not there. Well, when he comes back, I'll try to plug him in. My light it will soon come up. So let's manage what we'll see. Okay. This global pandemic has actually opened doors for certain companies. Yeah, a lot, a lot. In fact, I can point one. There's one supermarket close to my house. When these guys opened this supermarket, I was like, why would these people open supermarket here? They were not selling. They were not selling. So, but when this crisis came, these guys, in fact, they locked people outside because the crowd was just too much. So, what became an adversary? Yeah, okay, my power is back. I need to let me get Ume Daniels back. Ume Daniels is going to give us his last thoughts on that. Coupled with what he's saying, he's going to tell us opportunities. Yeah, before you went, you just wrap up with what you were saying. Then you just give us one or two opportunities that this crisis has created and how people can plug in. Okay, what kind of business can they do to plug into this very? Yeah, you can give us one or two. Yeah,
Somebody saying up
wrap
never.
up. Say up.
It's a little
Yeah,
issue.
we are going. You see this power issue in this country is an opportunity.
Oh my goodness.
It's a great opportunity in this whole power stuff,
Yes.
and I am really looking. I'm looking to. I'm making some discussion on that. I must pray God should expand my mind enough to reach out to finally have a solution for people, not for the country, for people. When the people in the country becomes better to affect the country. So your last thoughts, what you are saying, then we move on to
Yeah.
opportunities in this crisis. We'll wrap up with that.
Okay. So I was talking about the fact that companies, SMEs, um, because currently in the country, over 80% of the businesses in the country are made up of SMEs. So I know you started with the fact that self-employed people might not be in this whole mix of real businesses, but self-employed people eventually move. The ones that are very focused move to the B quadrants. They move from S to B quadrants. When they begin to put systems in place, and then their self-employed businesses go beyond them. Then they move into the structured businesses. But in any
Yeah.
case, SMEs, no matter how small, from 3, 4, 5 employees and upward, we make up over 80% of the entire company of the country's businesses right now.
Yeah.
And yes, and which is just over 4 million businesses in the country. But I was saying that this is a good time for us to sit down quickly. I'm sure with many structured businesses, they've done this SWOT. What do we know how to do? What are we good at? Now that COVID-19 is here and it has cut out the
Yes, I
opportunity
want
for...
you to expand. I want you to just take time. Let people should know what you are saying. The SWOT,
Oh, yeah.
SWOT. Let them know. Yeah, say it so that they know.
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, if you
Yeah.
divide that whole SWOT into two, all right, S and W are internal to your company. the strength of your company, the weaknesses of your company, and then the opportunities and threats are literally external. The opportunities are why we're in business in the first place, to seize the opportunities in the market, to to fill the gaps, niche marketing, niche businesses. All right, existing businesses can't do everything, and then we want to meet certain needs. So that's where the opportunities lie. But today we are talking about the threats. Okay, real
Yeah.
businesses love threats. Apart from you loving the opportunities in the market, you must be real enough as a business to learn to deal with the threats. And if we don't understand how this works, if we come in blindly from the beginning, then we'll blindly go out. But from the beginning, we agree with ourselves that a lot is working against us. And so we are
Yeah.
ready. And we put scenarios in place. So this is a good time to put those scenarios in place and to check what we can evolve into. Currently, most businesses are not producing what people need, and essentials are it. So for instance, I give an example. I have a very interesting company, a friend who runs a company close to the government house in Alausa. He's a digital marketing company, strong guy with Google and all that. He just told me a few days ago that his company also have moved their vehicle into supplying eggs in and around. Yes, crates and crates and crates of eggs. They use their vehicles. And now, as a digital marketer, his company is not shut down. In fact, more people need his company now, but he just saw a need. His company saw a need. So they sat down and asked themselves, what else can we do? And they did just that. They moved into essentials. And so that's what we're talking about when we sit down. So that's an opportunity. But meanwhile, I just want to touch on this other part. Because when we look at threats, some people forget that SWOT analysis is not the only analysis to do. There's something called pest analysis, but recently they added an LE to it. So it's now called pest tool analysis. And pest tool. Pest tool stands for basically external forces that can pretty much kill a business. External things that we have no control over as a business. This is not a strength. This is not a weakness. This has to do with T, but they are in the acronym. So if you take T out, that T comprises of several threats, including the P stands for political, the E stands for economic, okay? So for instance, one single government policy can be worse than COVID-19.
Yeah.
Yes. The economic right now, we're already in a recession before COVID-19. As long as the fuel prices continue going down, the government didn't have money. And our external reserves were less than 40 billion. So we are broke as a country already before COVID-19 began. As at January, Nigeria was really broke already. So we had already begun to anticipate an economic recession in-house. That's where E comes in, economic, in the pesto. And then social is the S. So there's a social, I won't go into that. Then there's T, technological, okay? Technological. And then the two new ones that were just added includes legal. So one lawsuit, for instance, can crush a company. One major fine can crush a company. Yes. Okay. And there are so many like that. And then lastly, the E there speaks of environmental factors, just like what we're having with COVID-19 now. So the environmental factors, which also we do not have control over, didn't just shut our businesses, it shut whole countries and the entire world. Speaking of opportunities that we can pretty much evolve into in this crisis, let's start with the basic obvious ones. Any business that is able to meet essentials will make some money. So I spoke about a digital marketing company that evolved into using their vehicles and their vehicles into supplying eggs. And so recently I got an ad of a young lady who had lost a job sometime last year and she had started a company before she lost the job, but a major part of their product was perfumes. And so when I saw the ads one morning, I quickly responded. I said, can your company put some of its money into essentials? And I began to explain, and already they began to see the need for that because people will eat. All right, people might not wear perfumes these days because they're indoors, but people are going to eat. So just like you talked about the Italian companies earlier, designers who have begun to produce nose masks. All right, and so you can see a few days ago I was listening to one of the CEOs of one of the multinational companies that produces quite a lot, and they said they turned one of their factories into the part of their company that was producing diapers for babies. They turned it into nose making, a nose making mask making line, because they realized that the same things that were inside the diapers, also the inner liner, the outer liners were things you could use for a nose mask. So they reinvented, got an extra part into that line, and began to produce tons of masks. And in fact, that helped them to be able to become socially responsible. So they gave out thousands of and millions of nose masks as well. All right. So this guy is in Geneva. He runs the European part of the business, and he was talking about what their company has evolved into. Why will multinationals begin to produce nose masks? Why will big Italian brands produce nose masks? So SMEs here in this part of the country, this part of the world, should be able to learn something from that. That it is what that is, going to be bought at the moment that's profitable for the company. So, for instance, there's nothing, just like, I like the analogy you gave earlier, it was just on point. That if your vision for your company is to make people happy, and you're a biscuit making company, as part of making you happy can also mean that I can produce anything that will make you happy, not just biscuits.
Yeah.
So that's the same attitude, all right? Taking the infinite, understanding of what mind game into the whole crisis, understanding that you can evolve, you are endless, you are not confined. And this game doesn't end with just one product. You keep moving on as a serial entrepreneur. And that kind of mindset tells me that if I'm a training consultant, for instance, I shouldn't be restricted to just offering. I learned a whole lesson during the recession in Nigeria when businesses couldn't patronize training consultants. And I told myself, you're not a training consultant, you're an entrepreneur. So you're a farmer, you are everything. You can invest in anything.
Yeah.
You can invest in real estate. And so that understanding has helped me just to fit into your model of what you talked about earlier. If your business is about making people happy, then you should meet needs. If my business vision, my vision is to meet the needs of people, make lives better, then anything that will currently make people's lives better, I should be doing. So people still need hand sanitizers. A part of your business should be producing that and label it and brand it with something, close to what your company is about. And it's amazing how that works right now. So and if you're going to produce hand sanitizers, for instance, or go into whatever thing people need, then also put digital into it. And so that's where the next opportunity I'd love to talk about comes in. That even though it's not profit making for many companies now, a lot of companies have been forced to embrace digital. And that is a massive opportunity, because whether it is now or post-COVID, a lot of businesses will be done online. So now we have the opportunity to change our business model, and sometimes even to become a leaner business. Just yesterday morning, I was having a strategy session with a company on Zoom, and it was just a management team that sat in the meeting. And then we immediately came to making the company lean. And interestingly, the sad truth is that we have to lay off quite a number of people. But we said, how do we do it properly? How do we do it so that you don't look inhumane? Because everybody knows you're going to communicate properly, and also you're going to have to train the people to build skills that are relevant, when they go on their own or when other companies need them. And so we decided to bring a digital person to come and train them. Don't just have an entrepreneurial mindset. Now, moving employees out of their business and putting them on the streets with just money is not enough. But to show that you are really, really, someone who really has the heart for your staff, you want to equip them with the skill to survive in a digital age. So digital became a must for them. But already, the company had to be lean. there's no need to keep people on the payroll when you are not producing so much right now. And of course, they now have to move all their focus to the most important part of their businesses that currently provide what people need. So I believe that's that with regards to that question.
Yeah. That's I think what you have said is enough for us today. Is enough. Is enough. In fact, I was just looking at the time. I said, okay, I'm going to get to Medaniel's back in here again. I always
Are
enjoy
you
your
kidding me?
trainings. Yeah, I'm going to bring you back.
I
I'm
believe
going
I
to bring
believe
you
we
back.
still have about I believe we still have more than 5 minutes more.
Yeah, we have more than. I'm going to bring you back. In fact, I was supposed to have somebody in this session, and
Oh,
I'm going
okay.
to give. Yes, I'm going to create another session for you because the guy is another wonderful. I want to listen to for another 2 hours.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay.
I'm going to create. Maybe I'll just do something with him tomorrow. Yeah, because this recording will always be there. People always come back to look at it again and again and again, and I'm really thrilled about it. Do you have a
Yeah.
last word for us? Do you have a last word for us?
Yeah, I would love to add this, and as we
Okay.
close, a lot of people are saying, I beg, make this COVID-19 just come and go so that I can go back to my good old days. I don't want to sound like a person without faith, but even after COVID-19 goes, it shall not be business as usual again. So what that means is that everybody needs to change their mindset now. Business leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, businesses that want to go past this crisis and beyond this crisis must change their mindset. It's not there's no good old days to go back to. We have to evolve into what it is, and it's a fourth industrial age for God's sake. And COVID-19 was an unexpected visitor, but it has forced us to realize that we have to be digital. So any business that will not be digital should get ready to die. Okay, it's true.
You
Get ready
know,
to die.
I told my
And
one of my younger sister. She does a kind of business. So I called her one day. I said I developed a product, but it has to go online. She said that I know that she's not she's old fashioned. She's not into this whole thing before COVID-19, before this lockdown. That
okay,
was last year. And when this lockdown happened, I called her. She said, "Oh, come and teach me now." I said, "No." I said, "I'm not ready for you." You understand?
amazing.
Yeah, a lot. We have to go online. I do trainings a lot, and I know how long it takes me to get myself prepared for my trainings. But with what is happening now, get my camera there, my stand, and everything.
That's what
I
you
go,
can.
I do my thing. Yeah, I'm looking at okay. I write also. I write books, so I'm looking at okay. What's the best way now to actually bring out my books? You understand? Yeah. So, Rume Daniels, I would love to have you again.
Thank
This
you very much.
is we call it allowed. We always have Wednesdays and Saturdays, but sometimes I just get a guest that to be ready, and we just chat. Okay. A few days
Thank
ago,
you
I
for
had
having
a
me. Oh, I enjoyed myself.
yes, I was in a conference also with Linus Okorie, and he
Oh,
had
okay.
about 7, 8 international speakers. And guess what? I networked with one of them, and he's so excited to be with me in this platform.
Oh, okay.
So to be with me in this platform. The guy is from Canada, but he resides in Paris. So
Okay.
glad to have him. This is what the crisis has given to us and has given to
Yes, it
me.
has. Yes, yes,
Thank
yes.
you very, very,
Thank you
very,
very
very,
much, Mr.
very much. Thank you. I
Appreciate you, man.
appreciate you. You will come back again. Oh, you will come back.
All right then. Looking forward to
Yeah,
it.
and my viewers down there, I want to thank you for hooking up with us. This is allowed. We say a lot of things there. We chat. We have a lot of people that will be coming to chat with us, and I'm sure a lot of you actually you took notes when he mentioned SWOT and the peso. I hope you took your notes. This will not stop here. We'll come back on Saturday. I have a wonderful guest on Saturday, but Rume, you blew my mind. You blew our mind. I want you. Yeah, I'm telling you so that you don't say I didn't take permission. I'll just bump
I
into
see.
you.
Is that Mr. Eddie Ofasade?
Eddie is there. is there. We have from my friends, Leke
Mr.
Oshiyeni,
Leke.
Honorable, yes, okay, Honorable Ife, my friend, um,
Eddie
Fiona
Ahelo.
Vine, Mr. Laju, Eddie is there,
Oh,
Queen Bell,
lovely.
there's Godwin Rice. Godwin Rice
I guess
is there, so we have some of them. So thank you once again.
thank
I'll
you.
see
Thank you, sir.
you later. God bless you.
All right then. Bye.
Okay. 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 Bye bye. We'll go faster. Yeah. Okay. End here. Okay.